Warmest greetings to all my incredible subscribers and new viewers alike. Welcome, curious minds, to our video that explores the ins and outs of Manchester City FC in international football. Manchester City Football Club, an English professional association football club, has gained entry to Union of European Football Associations (UEFA) competitions on multiple occasions. They have represented England in the European Cup, now the Champions League, on 14 occasions, the UEFA Cup, now the Europa League, on 8 occasions, in the now-defunct Cup Winners' Cup twice, the UEFA Super Cup once, and at the FIFA Club World Cup once. Manchester City are one of 13 English football clubs to have won European titles, in City's case the Cup Winners' Cup, Champions League, 2023 Super Cup and 2023 Club World Cup. The club's first entry into European competition occurred in 1968, as a result of winning the Football League Championship. However, the participation was short-lived, as Manchester City suffered a surprise defeat at the hands of Fenerbahçe in the first round. Entry into the Cup Winners' Cup the following season was more successful. Manchester City won the competition, defeating Górnik Zabrze in the final at the Prater Stadium in Vienna. The club reached the semi-finals of the same competition the following year, and continued to play European football regularly during the years. City then endured a period of decline, and did not play in Europe again until 2003, a gap of 24 years. Since then, the Blues have qualified for European competition on a regular basis. They progressed past the quarter-final stage of a continental competition 4 times during that period, reaching the semi-finals of the Champions League, losing their maiden European Cup final to Chelsea and winning their first ever European Championship in the years. Manchester City also had a track record of repeated entry into several of the non-UEFA sanctioned European competitions which were run in the era, including the Anglo-Italian League Cup and Texaco Cup. Now, let's shift our attention to first entries into European competition. European club football competitions began in the mid-years. Though Manchester City were moderately successful domestically in this period, the club did not play in Europe. City were not invited to play in the Inter-Cities Fairs Cup, and the European Cup Winners' Cup did not begin until 1960, when 8 players from neighbours Manchester United lost their lives in the Munich disaster when returning from a European Cup match in February 1958. UEFA wished for City to take United's place in the competition. City rejected the idea out of hand. Manchester City's first appearance in European competition occurred during the season. City played in the European Cup by virtue of having won the league championship. Extroverted Manchester City coach Malcolm Allison made a number of grandiose statements predicting how the team would fare, saying that City would terrify Europe, and that City will attack these people as they have not been attacked since the days of the old Real Madrid. The opposition in the first round was Turkish club Fenerbahçe. The City management did not scout Fenerbahçe in advance of the game, opting to rely on a report from Oscar Holt, an Englishman who had managed Fenerbahçe between 1965 and 1967. In the first leg at Main Road, City had what the Guardian's Albert Barham called overwhelming territorial advantage. However, to the frustration of the home crowd, City were denied by a strong defensive performance by Fenerbahçe, most notably by goalkeeper Yavuz İmik, and the match finished. The return leg in Istanbul was played in front of a Turkish record crowd. City took an early lead through Tony Coleman, but conceded 2 goals in the second half and were eliminated. Manchester City won the 1969 FA Cup final to earn a place in the European Cup Winners' Cup. Their first tie was against Athletic Bilbao, in Spain's Basque Country. Athletic were themselves managed by an Englishman, Ronnie Allen. In the first leg, City recovered from a 2-goal deficit to secure a draw. The home leg was a comfortable win. Post-match reports alleged that a scuffle had taken place at half-time between Mike Doyle and Jose Ramon Betsoun. The referee spoke to both managers, but did not take any further action. In the second round, City travelled to Belgium's Liers SK and won the first leg, with 2 goals from Francis Lee and 1 from Colin Bell. The home leg produced a win, a club record for European competition that stood until 2019. The first leg of the quarter-finals, at Académica de Coimbra, took place 3 days before Manchester City were due to play in the League Cup final. Malcolm Allison rejected the prevailing British football orthodoxy, in which domestic competitions took priority, by saying he would rather win in Portugal than in the League Cup final. The match finished goalless. At Main Road, extra time was required for Manchester City to break down the stubbornly defensive Coimbra. Tony Towers scored the only goal of the tie with a minute of extra time remaining. The draw for the semi-finals meant Manchester City played the away leg first in every round, this time in Germany, where Schalke were the opposition. City lost the first leg by a single goal. Needing to win at Main Road by at least 2 goals, the Blues used a very attacking approach. It worked. City led at half-time and won the match. In the final, they faced Górnik Zabrze of Poland, who had progressed via a coin toss after 3 matches with AS Roma could not produce a winner in the other semi-final. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of 1970 Cup Winners' Cup final and their profound significance. The final was held at a neutral venue, Prater Stadium in Vienna. The match took place in torrential rain, adversely affecting the attendance. The official figure was 7,968, though sources vary, with a number of figures between 7,968 and 15,000 reported. Of those, approximately 5,000 were Manchester City supporters. Owing to Soviet bloc travel restrictions, only 300 supporters, relatives and officials were permitted to travel from Communist Poland by its government. Manchester City started the match strongly, particularly Francis Lee, the Guardian correspondent wrote Lee, indefatigable and nigh irresistible, continually embarrassed the Górnik defence in the early stages. Lee had the first chance of the match, a close-range shot which was saved by goalkeeper Hubert Koska. Manchester City took the lead in the 12th minute. Lee cut in from the left wing, escaping a tackle from Alfred Olek, and struck a fierce shot. Koska parried the ball, only for it to land at the feet of Neil Young for a simple finish. Shortly after, City defender Mike Doyle sustained an ankle injury after colliding with Stefan Florenski. The Blues played on with 10 men for a period as Doyle received treatment from trainer Dave Ewing, but the defender was unable to continue. Substitute Ian Bowyer replaced him. The change prompted an alteration in formation, in which Colin Bell switched to a deeper position. Shortly before half-time, Young won the ball after loose play from Florenski, which put him clear on goal. As Young moved into the penalty area, Koska rushed out at his goal and upended him, leaving the referee no option but to give a penalty. Lee struck the spot kick with power into the centre of the goal. Koska's legs made contact with the ball, but the force of the shot carried it into the net to make it. Górnik got a goal back midway through the second half, but there were no more goals and the match finished. After the match, City manager Joe Mercer said the heavy rain in the second half ruined the game and that he was quite happy with the performance of our team, although the technical level was rather low in the second half. Górnik manager Mika Mathias blamed his side's poor start, saying the first goal came too early for us and we never recovered from this shock. The trophy was Manchester City's 4th major honour in 3 seasons. It made them the 3rd English club to win a Cup Winners' Cup, after Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham United. Our focus now turns to regular participation in the ERS, an important aspect of our discussion. As title holders, Manchester City automatically qualified to defend the Cup Winners' Cup in the season. Had they not won the trophy, they would still have been qualified for European competition, as City's victory in the 1970 League Cup granted a place in the Fairs Cup. As a UEFA organised competition, the Cup Winners' Cup took precedence over the Fairs Cup, and so the club took a place in the former. In the first round, Manchester City almost suffered an upset at the hands of Linfield from Belfast. City held a 1-goal lead after the first leg, but Linfield twice took the lead in the second leg. The match finished to Linfield, and Manchester City progressed on the away goals rule. Honved with the opposition in the second round. Manchester City won both legs, with the score being on aggregate. The quarter-finals saw a rematch with Górnik Zabrze, who City had beaten in the previous year's final. Both legs finished to the home team, so to separate the sides, a third match was played on neutral ground in Copenhagen. Despite having several players unavailable through injury, City won this match and were drawn to play fellow English club Chelsea in the semi-finals, the first time Manchester City had drawn another English club in European competition. Further injuries occurred in domestic fixtures in the run-up to the game, to the extent that goalkeeper Joe Corrigan played the first leg of the Chelsea tie unable to fully open his left eye because of a facial injury. City lost the first leg at Stamford Bridge. Corrigan was unable to play in the second leg, in which stand-in goalkeeper Ron Healy conceded an own goal, resulting in another defeat. A mid-table finish in the season meant that for the first time in 4 years Manchester City did not qualify for Europe. The following year, a fourth-place league finish gave the club a berth in the UEFA Cup for the first time. The UEFA Cup had replaced the FA Cup in 1971, when control of the competition transferred to UEFA. City's debut in the competition was a short one. Drawn against a Valencia side managed by Alfredo Di Stefano, City were bounced out in the second leg at the Mestalla, despite producing a pulsating draw at Main Road in the first leg. Triumph in the 1976 League Cup final gave Manchester City a place in the UEFA Cup after a 4-year absence. City drew Juventus in the first round. Drawn at home first, City won the first leg, Brian Kidd scoring his first goal for the club. The second leg in Turin resulted in a defeat and elimination. Juventus went on to win the competition. As league runners-up in the season, City again qualified for the UEFA Cup. Drawn against Wydst, the Blues drew the first leg at Main Road. In the late years, hooliganism was becoming a more prominent part of English football. Following an incident where a fan invaded the pitch and attacked Wydst's Big City were fined by UEFA, and fencing was erected between the pitch and the stands. A draw-in resulted in City's elimination on the away goals rule. A fifth-place finish in the season proved sufficient to qualify for the UEFA Cup once again. Dutchman FC Twente were the first opposition. In Enschede, Dave Watson gave City the lead. Twente equalised in the second half from a free kick. In the second leg, City ran up a lead, but a second Twente goal meant a no-V finish. City held on, preserving their lead to win the tie. This was the first time the club had progressed past the first round of the UEFA Cup in 4 attempts. Further opposition from the Low Countries awaited in the second round, in the form of Standard Liège. A flurry of late goals gave Manchester City a lead after the first leg. The large lead meant that despite a defeat in Liège, in which Gary Owen received a red card, City progressed with ease. Owen's sending off resulted in a 5-match ban. In the third round, City faced 4-time European trophy winners AC Milan. The first leg, held at the San Siro, was initially postponed due to fog and was instead played the following day. City took a lead and came close to becoming the first English team to beat Milan at the San Siro, but conceded twice. The equaliser scored 8 minutes from time. City won the home leg with goals from Booth, Hartford and Kidd. City's first European quarter-final since 1971 was against Borussia Mönchengladbach. The club received advice from Bob Paisley, whose Liverpool had met Mönchengladbach several times. City opened the scoring in the first leg, but while attempting to extend their lead were caught on the counter-attack and conceded an equaliser. After failing to win the home leg, having conceded an away goal in the process, City travelled to Germany with few expecting them to progress. So it proved, as City lost at the Prater Stadium. As we progress, let's shine the spotlight on return to Europe in the years, little progress in the early years, and examine its intricate interplay within our topic. Manchester City's fortunes declined during the years and years. For a single season, The club fell as far as English football's third tier. The club did not qualify for European competition in this period. In ordinary circumstances, the club's fifth-placed finish in 1991 and 1992 would have granted a UEFA Cup place. However, English clubs had recently returned from a ban issued after the Heysel Stadium disaster. As the UEFA coefficient that determines the number of places per country is based upon performances in European competition over the previous 5 years, England had a reduced allocation until 1995. By the season, Manchester City were back in the Premier League. An unusual route into European competition for the season was provided by the UEFA Respect Fair Play ranking, which allocated extra UEFA Cup qualifying round places for the leagues with the best records for discipline and positive play. This marked Manchester City's first European participation for 24 years. In the qualifying round, City played Welsh club Total Network Solutions. The first leg was the first ever competitive match at Manchester City's new ground, the City of Manchester Stadium. Trevor Sinclair became the first ever goalscorer at the stadium in a win. In the hope of attracting a large crowd, TNS switched the second leg to Millennium Stadium, the national stadium of Wales. With the tie effectively won, City made 10 changes to their team. The match finished to City. Against Sporting Lokeren in the first round proper, City won the home leg and the away leg. A tie against Groningen Discabolia followed. Both legs were drawn, and just as in 1976, City were eliminated on away goals after a draw in Poland. In 2008, Manchester City once again qualified for the UEFA Cup through the Fair Play rankings. As City had to play the qualifying rounds, it meant a very early start to the season, in mid-July. Their first match was a trip to the remote Faroe Islands to play Ebström. Aströmer's ground had a capacity of only 1,000. The match was moved to Tursvalla, the Faroes' national stadium. 2 early goals gave City a win. The home leg was unusual in that it was played outside Manchester. The pitch at the City of Manchester Stadium had been relayed following a Bon Jovi concert and was not ready in time. Instead, the match was played at Barnsley's Oakwell ground. Another win resulted in an aggregate scoreline. In the second qualifying round, City played FC Midtjylland. The first leg ended in a defeat, only City's second ever home defeat in European competition. In the second leg, City looked to be heading out of the competition until an 89th minute cross was diverted into his own net by Midtjylland's Danny Califf. The tie then went to extra time, and City progressed on penalties. In the first round proper, Cypriots AC Ammonia took the lead, but City overcame the deficit and won, and also won the second leg by the same scoreline. A 5-team group stage then followed, in which each team played the others once. Manchester City were drawn with Twente, Shakhtar, Racing de Santander and Paris Saint-Germain. City topped the group after wins against Twente and Shakhtar, a draw with Paris Saint-Germain and a defeat in a dead rubber in Santander. The knockout stages then resumed, with a visit to FC Copenhagen in freezing conditions. City took the lead twice but could only draw. The home leg was more comfortable, and ended in a victory. Another Danish club, Aalborg, awaited in the next round. Both matches finished to the home side, and the tie was decided by a penalty shootout, which Manchester City won. City then faced Hamburger SV, in their first European quarter-final since 1979. The away leg was played first, and started exceptionally well for Manchester City, as Stephen Ireland scored after just 35 seconds. However, Hamburg soon equalised, and won the match. A difficult task in the home leg soon became even harder when Hamburg scored an away goal early in the match. City scored twice, the first by Elano, who also hit the woodwork on 2 occasions with free kicks. However, City could not produce the third goal that would have taken the tie into extra time. UEFA rebranded and restructured the UEFA Cup in 2009, resulting in it becoming the UEFA Europa League. By finishing fifth in the Premier League, Manchester City qualified for this competition. A playoff round took place before the 14 group stage, in which Manchester City beat Timur of Romania home and away. City's group stage opponents were Juventus, Red Bull Salzburg and Lech Poznan. Each team played the others twice. City's opener was in Salzburg and resulted in a win. A draw at home to Juventus then followed. A win at home to Lech Poznan is remembered primarily not for the action on the pitch, in which Emmanuel Adebayor scored a hat-trick, but for the actions of the Polish supporters, whose backs to the pitch dance was later adopted by Manchester City fans, for whom it became known as the Poznan. The return match with Lech Poznan resulted in a defeat, but a home victory over Red Bull Salzburg ensured qualification with a match to spare. The dead rubber against Juventus ended, and Manchester City won the group. In the knockout stages, City then beat Aris Thessaloniki on aggregate, and met Dynamo Kiev in the last 16. City lost in Kiev, and had to play most of the second leg with 10 men after Mario Balotelli was sent off. A win was insufficient to overcome the deficit, as City lost on aggregate. Manchester City finished third in the Premier League to qualify for the rebranded version of the European Cup, the UEFA Champions League, for the first time since 1968. The club's league finish granted direct entry into the group stages without qualification. Their group stage opponents were Bayern Munich, Villarreal and Napoli. City's first group match was at home to Napoli. The Italians took the lead in the second half following a counter-attacking move, but 5 minutes later Alexander Kolarov scored from a free kick to equalise, and the match finished. City then lost at Bayern Munich, a match most notable for the refusal of Carlos Tevez to come on as substitute, which resulted in an exile from the first team lasting nearly 6 months. A double-header with Villarreal resulted in 2 Manchester City wins. Sergio Aguero scored a last-minute winner in the first, which finished. The second was a comfortable victory. A defeat at Napoli then took qualification out of Manchester City's hands, and despite a win against group winners Bayern Munich, City finished third in the group and failed to qualify for the knockout stages. As a third-place team, the club then entered the Europa League in the round of 32, where they faced Europa League holders Porto. Manchester City won both legs. Aguero's goal after 19 seconds of the second leg was the second fastest in the history of the competition. City returned to Portugal in the next round, against Lisbon club Sporting CP. City lost the first leg in Lisbon and were trailing early in the home game. The team mounted a great comeback, scoring 3 goals, but it was not enough, as they were eliminated on away goals rule. Manchester City qualified for the UEFA Champions League as league champions, and hope were high for the team to perform successfully. The team was drawn with Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, and AFC Ajax. Citizens failed to win even a single watch, losing 3 and drawing 3, and failed to progress even to the Europa League knockout stage, finishing last in their group. The UEFA Champions League campaign was a watershed moment for the team, as they won 5 games in the group stage and qualified for the knockout phase for the first time since 1968. However, City's performance in the round of 16 was a disappointment, as they dropped both games to Barcelona with an aggregate score of. The team's next Champions League campaign was similar to the previous one, as Manchester City were again drawn with Bayern Munich and CSKA Moscow in the group stage, and, after qualifying for the playoffs as the second-best team, Citizens once again had to face Barcelona. The final result saw little improvement, as Man City again lost both games, but this time with an aggregate score of. Barra went on to win the tournament. The UEFA Champions League campaign went on to become the most successful in history for City, as they reached the semi-finals before being eliminated by Real Madrid after drawing the home game and losing at the Santiago Bernabeu. Real Madrid went on to win the tournament. The Citizens eliminated Dynamo Kiev and Paris on their way to the semi-finals. As we progress, let's zoom in on under Pep Guardiola, 2016 to present day, top 4 UEFA ranking, first ever Champions League final and continental treble, and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. Under Pep Guardiola, 2016 to present day, top for UEFA ranking, first ever Champions League final and continental treble. In the first season under the reign Pep Guardiola, hopes were high for Manchester City as they progressed to the knockout phase after finishing second in the group that featured Guardiola's former team, Barcelona. City lost their away match to Borough, but then rebounded to win at home. In the round of 16, City were drawn against Monaco. The Blues were trailing and in their home match before scoring 3 unanswered goals and winning. In the away game, the Citizens were down when Leroy Sane scored to put City in front of the tie again, but Timo Bakayoko's late goal meant that Monaco progressed further and City were eliminated. The season was an undoubted success for the Blues domestically, but their European campaign was quite underwhelming. The team confidently won 5 games in the group stage and qualified for the knockout stage, where they defeated Basel on aggregate. The Citizens were drawn with fellow Premier League side Liverpool in the quarter-finals. The outcome of those games was an utter devastation as Manchester City were thrashed on aggregate and eliminated amid the controversy with refereeing mistakes favourable to Liverpool. The Premier League title, where City achieved 100 points, was somewhat a consolation for this anticlimactic European campaign. Manchester City were one of the favourites prior to their Champions League campaign. The team again won their group with 13 points, then defeated Schalke 04 in the round of 16, winning their home game with a record scoreline. Similarly to the previous season, Manchester City were drawn against an English club in the quarter-finals, this time Tottenham Hotspur. The Blues lost the away game, with Aguero missing a penalty. In the home leg, Sterling scored early for the hosts, but then City quickly conceded 2 goals and now needed to score 3. They did exactly that, leading 20 minutes before the end of the game, but Fernando Llorent's wrongly awarded handball meant that City were again required to score. In stoppage time, Sterling converted a pass from Aguero to seemingly send City through. However, the goal was disallowed after a VAR review, and the Blues were eliminated in a heartbreaking fashion. Manchester City swept all their domestic tournaments that season, but were still unable to add European success. Acknowledging that City would be judged by their Champions League performance after all, Pep Guardiola stated that the new season's main objective would be to win the European title. The Citizens progressed to the knockout phase and faced old foes Real Madrid there. City won the away game, but the remainder of the tournament was indefinitely postponed due to the COVID pandemic. Finally, UEFA announced that the tournament would be resumed in August 2020. The home match against Madrid was scheduled for 7 August. Thanks to goals from Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus, the Citizens once again defeated Madrid, achieving a victory on aggregate and advancing to the quarter-finals. Man City faced Lyon on 15 August, losing and exiting the Champions League at the quarter-final stage for the 3rd year in a row. The campaign saw City top its group with a club record of 16 points, twice defeating Marseille and Olympiacos, and collecting 4 points against Porto. In the round of 16, the Blues were paired with Borussia Mönchengladbach and progressed to the quarter-finals for the 4th consecutive year after winning both legs. In the quarter-finals, City were paired against another German outfit, this time Borussia Dortmund. The Blues managed to neutralise Dortmund's informed striker Erling Haaland to win a double-leg tie on aggregate after 2 identical wins home and away. In the semi-finals, Manchester City were drawn against reigning finalists Paris Saint-Germain, who'd avenged their loss to Bayern Munich in the 2020 final by knocking out the German club in their quarter-final tie on away goals. City rallied from behind to win at the Parc des Princes thanks to goals by Kevin De Bruyne and Riyad Mahrez. In the second leg, a goal in either half from Mahrez booked City's place in their first ever European Cup final, which happened to be an all-English affair against Chelsea, with a stylish aggregate victory. The final took place at the Estádio do Dragão in Porto, Portugal, and the Citizens were defeated by a lone goal scored by Kai Havertz in an anticlimactic game. Still, City's breakthrough marked its most successful European campaign to date. As a consequence of that successful campaign, City entered the top four in the UEFA rankings, placing third. City once again reached the Champions League semi-finals in the competition. They won a group including Paris Saint-Germain, RB Leipzig and Club Brugge with 4 victories and 2 defeats. In the round of 16 they earned a commanding first leg led in their tie against Sporting Lisbon, beating the Portuguese champions away including a brace from Bernardo Silva, before wrapping up the victory with a draw at home. In the quarter-final, a victory in the first leg at home gave City a slight advantage against Atletico as they headed to Madrid. An intense and matchily hard-fought draw then ensured City progressed to the semi-finals. There, City beat Real Madrid in an outstanding game at a full and noisy Etihad Stadium to take a slender advantage to the Bernabeu. City scored in under 2 minutes as Kevin De Bruyne finished the fastest goal in European Cup semi-final history and had held a 2-goal advantage on 3 occasions during the tie, with several other good opportunities to increase their lead, only to see a resilient Madrid reduce their deficit to a single goal, including a brace and Panenka penalty from their top scorer, captain and talisman Karim Benzema. City would go on to regret these missed opportunities as they failed to reach the Champions League final in dramatic and heartbreaking circumstances, leading the second leg on aggregate from a 75th goal from Riyad Mahrez and approaching the last minute of normal time. It appeared City were heading comfortably to the final, where they would have met Liverpool. However, 2 goals in a minute from Madrid's substitute striker Rodrigo sent the game into extra time, and another penalty from Benzema 5 minutes later proved to be the winner as City were defeated on aggregate. Despite the heartbreaking defeat, City retained the 3rd place in the UEFA rankings. For the 3rd consecutive season, and for the 4th time in the club's history, City reached the Champions League semi-finals after topping their group of Borussia Dortmund of the Bundesliga, Sevilla of La Liga and FC Copenhagen of the Danish Superliga undefeated, with 4 wins and 2 draws. The Blues were drawn up against RB Leipzig in the round of 16 for the 3rd and 4th fixtures between the sides in their histories. At the Red Bull Arena, Riyad Mahrez's first half opener was cancelled out by Joko Gvardiol in the second half, and City drew after being denied a penalty in the final seconds. The draw would not matter as City eviscerated the German side in the second leg, with a record-equalling 5 goals from Erling Haaland, and 1 each from new captain Ilkay Gündoğan and from Kevin De Bruyne. The Blues would then be drawn up against another Bundesliga side, this time Bayern Munich, Champions League winners and reigning German champions. In the first leg at the Etihad Stadium, City comfortably outplayed Bayern and defeated them, with a first Champions League goal for Rodri and 1 each from Bernardo Silva and Erling Haaland, effectively sending City through after 1 leg. The following week, they drew at the Allianz Arena, with another goal from Haaland confirming City's semi-finals spot on aggregate to face Real Madrid there for the 2nd consecutive season. The first leg was played at the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, and Vinícius Júnior gave Madrid a lead at half-time with a stunning goal. However, City's reliable talisman Kevin De Bruyne salvaged the Blues a draw at a stadium that saw their Champions League campaign collapse a year ago. Then, in one of their best performances in the Pep Guardiola era, Manchester City sealed their spot in the final thanks to an incredible win in the second leg at the Etihad Stadium, with a first-half brace from Bernardo Silva and second-half goals from Manuel Akanji and Julian Alvarez. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore 2023 Champions League final from a different angle. On 10 June 2023, at the Atatürk Olympic Stadium in front of 71,412 supporters, a second-half goal from Rodri saw Manchester City win the Champions League final against Inter Milan, completing a historic continental treble, only the 2nd in English men's football history. In doing so, City completed a task of winning the UEFA Champions League set out 15 years ago in 2008 when the club was purchased by the Abu Dhabi United Group. The game itself was a nervy one for the Blues. In the 5th minute, Bernardo Silva curled an effort just wide. Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne both had efforts, but they were saved by Inter goalkeeper Andronina. In the 36th minute, De Bruyne was substituted due to injury for the second time in a Champions League final, after going off in City's 2021 defeat to Chelsea. In the 59th minute, City's keeper Ederson failed to collect the weird back pass from Manuel Akanji, which was found by Inter's Lautaro Martinez. His shot from near the touchline was blocked by Ederson. Rodri scored the opening goal for City in the 68th minute by finishing a pulled-back pass that Bernardo Silva sent from near the goal to the top of the penalty area. Inter had a chance to equalise 3 minutes later through a header by defender Federico Di Marco that hit the crossbar. Di Marco tried to capitalise on the rebound as well, but his shot was blocked by on-loan Chelsea striker Romelu Lukaku. The Belgian striker had his own chance to score from a close-range header in the 89th minute, which Ederson blocked with his legs. The Brazilian made an additional save in stoppage time off Robin Gosens' header to preserve a victory for City, with this being the club's first European Cup title, making them the first new winners of the competition since fellow English club Chelsea in 2012. City became the 6th English team and 23rd overall to win the European Cup, which also marked the 15th time an English club were European champions. With this triumph, Manchester City topped the UEFA coefficient rankings. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of UEFA and FIFA competitions and unravel its multifaceted nature. Manchester City results in UEFA competition. As we enter this new phase, let's analyze non-UEFA FIFA competitions from different angles and evaluate its significance. In addition to the major UEFA competitions, Manchester City have also played a number of first-team fixtures in other, more minor multinational competitions. As winners of the 1970 League Cup, Manchester City played against the Coppa Italia winners Bologna in the Anglo-Italian League Cup. The competition started the previous year as a way of enabling 1969 League Cup winners Swindon Town to play European opposition. For the first leg in Bologna, the City team stayed over 160 miles away in the coastal resort of Rimini and took a relaxed attitude to proceedings. City lost the match and drew at home, losing the competition. After missing out on a UEFA berth for Manchester City were invited to play in the Texaco Cup, a competition for English, Scottish and Irish teams. City fielded a weakened side for the second leg of their tie against Adrionians. As punishment, Manchester City had their £1,000 sterling prize money withheld and were banned from the competition for 2 years. Upon the expiry of the suspension in 1974, the club entered the competition again, but exited in the group stage. The tournament saw Denis Law play his final matches as a professional. The withdrawal of Irish teams saw the competition renamed the Anglo-Scottish Cup the following year. Again, City failed to progress beyond the group stage. Manchester City results in non-UEFA competition. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of lost semi-finals and unravel its multifaceted nature. Yekon opposing ag final other petition team score venue semi-finalists. Other winning semi-finalists are shown in italics. Tournament's winners are in bold. Now, we shift our focus to UEFA and FIFA competitions, a topic that deserves our attention. Result summary by country. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of non-UEFA competitions and unravel its multifaceted nature. Result summary by country non-UEFA competitions. As we progress, let's shine a spotlight on by team and examine its intricate interplay within our topic. Manchester City have played against 66 different teams internationally. Record in international football by team. As we transition, let's shed light on UEFA coefficient and its relevance to our ongoing exploration. The UEFA club coefficients are based on the results of clubs competing in the 5 previous seasons of the UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa League and UEFA Europa Conference League. The rankings determine the seeding of each club in relevant UEFA competition draws. The table and graph below show the progress of City's rankings in these coefficients since they re-entered the Europa League competition as of the end of the season specified. Season coefficient ranking 30, 42, 47, 28, 54, 22, 56, 22, 71, 17, 84, 11, 85, 12, 108, 106, 6, 116, 6, 125, 3, 134, 3, 145, 1. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of club records as we dive into its profound implications. Record European home victory versus Schalke 4, UEFA Champions League round of 16 second leg, 12 March 2019 versus RB Leipzig, UEFA Champions League round of 16 second leg, 14 March 2023. Record European away victory versus Sporting CP, UEFA Champions League round of 16 first leg, 15 February 2022. Record European home defeat versus Bayern Munich, UEFA Champions League group stage, to October 2013. Record European away defeat versus Barcelona, UEFA Champions League group stage, 19 October 2016. Longest winning run in UEFA competitions, 8 matches, 17 May 2023, 13 December 2023, ongoing. Most UEFA Champions League wins in a single season, 11 matches. National record. Longest unbeaten run in the UEFA Champions League, 19 matches, 6 September 2020 to 13 December 2023, ongoing. Longest unbeaten home run in the UEFA Champions League, 29 matches, 7 November 2018 – 28 November 2023, ongoing. National record. Most UEFA Champions League home wins in a row, 11 matches, 9 March 2022 to 28 November 2023, ongoing. Longest unbeaten away run in the UEFA Champions League, 10 matches, 18 September 2019 – 28 September 2021. Most points amassed in a UEFA Champions League group, 18 points. Fewest points amassed in a UEFA Champions League group, 3 points. Most goals scored in a single season, 32 goals. Fewest goals conceded in one season, 5 goals, and highest home attendance, 53,461 versus Liverpool, UEFA Champions League quarter-finals second leg, 10 April 2018. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of player records as we examine its impact and relevance. Most appearances, 75 Fernandinho. Most goals scored in European competitions, 43 Sergio Aguero. Most goals scored in the UEFA Champions League, 39 Sergio Aguero. Most goals scored in the playoff round, 3 Sergio Aguero. Most goals scored in the group stage, 27 Sergio Aguero. Most goals scored in the knockout phase, 11 Kevin De Bruyne. Most goals scored in a single season, 12 Erling Haaland. Most hat-tricks scored, 3 Sergio Aguero. Most hat-tricks in a single season, 2 Sergio Aguero. Most goals scored in a single match, 5 Erling Haaland versus RB Leipzig. Most assists, 27 Kevin De Bruyne. Most assists in a single season, 7 Kevin De Bruyne. Most assists in a single match, 3 Kevin De Bruyne versus Tottenham Hotspur, UEFA Champions League, 17 April 2019, Joe Cancelo versus Club Brugge, UEFA Champions League, 3 November 2021. Most clean sheets, 29 Ederson. Let's now shift our focus to manager records and explore the ways in which it shapes our perspective. Most decorated managers, 3 titles Pep Guardiola. Most games managed, 86 matches including preliminary rounds Pep Guardiola. Most matches won, 57 wins including preliminary rounds Pep Guardiola. I love interacting with my viewers, so leave me a comment and I'll do my best to respond.